So it's Sunday, and usually that means we would be doing some sort of tech wave today, but it was a pretty busy week with the Nintendo Partners Direct that ended up being pretty good overall, especially compared to other partner directs. And then, of course, we had all of this Sony information and drama around the pre-orders. It was all over the place, right? It was just one of those weeks. Also, I decided, hey, since Spawn Wave Plus is starting to pick up more and more, how about I actually like to design its own area to film in, like little set and all of this, which of course means that the one desk that I seemed to order to build didn't come with the special tool from Amazon that you could, of course, they use a special tool. Can't just use a Phillips head driver. So that's what I've been doing the past few hours. But there was something that came up, and I did say I would talk to you guys about this as soon as we found out more about the PlayStation 5, specifically the entirety of the system. We talked about the console from the angles that we had from Sony, but now, due to some new images that have appeared, because of course they're going through all of like the certification process and all of this, I believe through the FCC, there are a lot of pictures now of the PlayStation 5. And yes, for everyone who's been asking me for a while now, that does also include the back of it, as well as the stand. And I wanted to point out, I guess my best guess right now for where that NVMe card is going to go. Because keep in mind, we'll most likely have to open some portion of the PlayStation 5 to upgrade it. And after seeing that Demon's Souls and Spider-Man Ultimate Edition together is like 170 gigabytes, we're probably going to be upgrading that storage sooner rather than later. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button down below and subscribe if you're new here. So let's go over here to all of the pictures that were recorded for the FCC certification. And while we're on this, which you can see the top of it here, of course, with the ruler going around it right now, let's go over the dimensions, because this system is now officially, because we have dimensions now and even the weight, it is officially the largest home console ever released. In fact, we even have an image that The Verge took the dimensions, punched it into a 3D modeling program, and came out the other end with a good comparison even to like the original PlayStation 3 George Foreman grill, right? Or the old school brick Xbox original that was super heavy compared to everything else around it. Well, the PlayStation 5 is 15.4 inches tall, 10.24 inches deep, so when you're looking at it, you know, as far back as it goes, and then just over 4 inches wide, 4.09, and it's just under 10 pounds. It's like 9.906 or something like that. So yes, it is quite the hefty system, right? It's not a small system, but we've seen people holding it. We know what we're getting into here. You're going to want to make sure you got a spot for it in your entertainment center. And take a look at this image here. This was pretty funny. Like I said, this is an image that The Verge put out that shows from left to right the PlayStation 3 60 gigabyte as that maroon shape right there, and then the Xbox original, then the Xbox One, and then both PlayStation 5s digital first, and then the regular PlayStation 5. So yes, even compared to something like the PS3, which was a mammoth system at the time, super heavy, it is small in comparison to the PS5. So back to the images here. We have a good shot of the top of it, of course, with the little PlayStation logo. That's what you'd be looking at if you look down on it after putting it sideways on the stand. And from there, we can get a nice front shot. It does look like it's just all glossy plastic, so glossy black, which my issue with glossy plastic, and I've always had this issue with glossy black plastic. I remember, like, for example, the top of that PS3, the Wii U, it scratches up pretty easily, that part. It almost seems like the white part, the outer shell, is going to be like a matte finish, so that won't scratch as easily. It's going to be a very strange thing to see as it kind of wears over time, because even like the most basic thing can scratch it. Just over time, dust will get on it and all of this. It's kind of annoying to deal with glossy plastic. I'm hoping in the future, when we get more and more special editions, we'll just get like an all black, all matte black. That'd be nice, right? Something like that. Or maybe like a nice red and black, or maybe with God of War Ragnarok, we get a really cool looking system. There's some blue in there. Maybe they do like a black and blue system. There are a lot of things they can do with special editions, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is they have some change ups here from like what people call it, the reversed Oreo look. But from there we can see the side, and yes, the vents do wrap all the way around, as we were talking about before with the rendering that Sony had put out. This continues to lean more and more to my idea that there is a large fan, just one large fan at the top. And that would make sense. It can kind of spin air through the system and then down out of the back. You can see that these vents right here are angled, so that they are kind of angled going downwards, right, if you're standing the system up. And then on the back, it kind of reminds me of those, remember those old HP like office computers. I mean, I don't know, maybe you have them at your office now even. I've still seen them around, but that vent on the back kind of reminds me of the front of those. And you can see the vents are angled downwards here as well. The air is basically going to suck in from the top and then kind of come down through it, but also sort of through the front. So that top front corner appears to be the main area where air will be coming in, and then it'll jet out of the back here. But the back is pretty straightforward. It's very simple. 2 USB 3 ports, Ethernet, HDMI, and then power in. And the power in port tells us, yes, there is indeed the power supply built in. I don't think anyone's shocked or surprised by that. Seems pretty obvious now with the way Sony and even Microsoft are going with their systems. No more big boxes outside of it. You might as well build it into it, at this point. Why not? You can cool it all at once rather than have to try to put a fan and then manage that outside of the system, hoping that people understand that it needs to be ventilated. Most people don't. It just goes underneath the entertainment center or in a bundle of wires behind your cabinet that the TV is sitting on. People were also asking me about this little spot right up here, wondering if it was some kind of mystery port. No, that is a security spot where if you have like one of those security locks at retail, for example, or maybe you use them at home. I don't know. You have a party, you don't want someone to run off with it. This would allow you to loop the chain around a leg or something that's just completely sturdy down to the floor. It'd be really hard to run off with. And that way you can still show it off without having to be worried about it being stolen, basically. It is nice that we have some USB ports on the back of the PlayStation 5. I don't think my PS4 doesn't have. I'm trying to think. No, the PS3 didn't have it either. I guess having 2 of these back there would be new. It'd be nice because then you don't have to have, say, your external hard drive out of the front. Because keep in mind, these systems can still use external hard drives, which is good. You just have to install the game from that external hard drive to your system using that SSD before you can play it. And you can see it's on top of its stand right here, which the stand is going to give it kind of that floating look because you're not going to be able to see it if you're kind of looking forward and kind of down at it. It's going to almost look like it's just levitating off the floor, which I guess is kind of a cool effect there. Also, keep in mind, most likely it's like that, and the way this is set up, so it doesn't really lay well on its side without the stand, so that air can circulate around it very, very easily, right? There's a lot of thought, I would say here, put into how the system is going to cool itself. A lot of thought, which makes me very hopeful that it will be quiet, right? It won't be like the PS4, like my PS4 Pro tries to take off into outer space if I play something like God of War or even the new Avengers game, which I'm playing on there. Yeah, it tries to take off in the atmosphere. And then this is the side that I was very interested in. This could be where the NVMe drive is going to go in, but I'm still unsure. And you see this little dot right here? Most of the time, what Sony has done is that they've hidden a screw like so that it kind of blends in, but you can still access it if you need to. And I was looking at this dot and I almost wonder if this is where you will access it. You take this little dot off, you unscrew a screw or something, and then this bottom panel here, not this top one because this has a bunch of information on it that they want to leave attached to the system, but also behind that should be the power supply. I almost feel like this little bottom spot here will kind of pop off, and either it goes maybe like facing you, or it actually does slot in. That would probably be the best way, and it has a spring to eject it back out to make it a bit easier. That way you don't have to screw it in, but I doubt, looking at this, the way Sony is trying to make sure that this is sitting just right, I feel like they don't want us to take any of the side panels off, which is kind of I would say disappointing, because it would have been cool to buy like what are basically faceplates and change them out. But from what I'm seeing, it does look like we're going to have some sort of false door somewhere in order to install the NVMe. And that's kind of my best guess, is this little panel here. The NVMe drives are pretty small. They're just more longer than anything else. So they would probably fit in there, especially if it's just a little slot. The stand here, you can see it has rubber feet on the bottom. The one thing with the stand, and I'll point this out, it has a little arm that kind of extends back here. The stand itself has a little circle there. It's a guide, like an indent, and that should be where that does sit in, I would assume. So maybe that's pulling double duty, or maybe that's really just there to sit into that stand so that it can be vertical. It's going to be interesting to see where that NVMe drive goes in, and we will, of course, find out when they do the teardown. Otherwise, though, the stand is pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy here. They have the little hook to grab the lip itself on the back so that it secures it better, and then when it's standing up, looks like it's just going to slot in right here. Now, I will say the more I've looked at the PlayStation 5 over the past few months since they revealed it, the more it's grown on me. I think I'm on board with this design now. The funny thing is, though, that glossy plastic does hurt it for me, and that is kind of annoying that it's there, because I know what it's going to look like for a lot of people in just like a year or two. But you know what? It does appear to be well built. These are just some of the images they're putting out there. And I am so curious as to how this system is cooled now, more so than before after seeing these images. I mean, look, it has like this split here. And I still think it's using kind of that dual zone cooling setup where you have a power supply on one side and then the GPU on the other. That would be a really cool thing to see actually unfold by opening up and taking a look. And I'm hoping at the end of the day, that means that the system will run efficiently and it'll be fairly quiet. That's my biggest hope for this system coming from the PlayStation 4. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for this look at the PlayStation 5 with the new images. Make sure you like the video on the way out if you enjoyed it. Dislike it if not, and I'll see you next time.